There we are. Okay, so my name is Andrea Layzell, and I'm the National Early Years Projects Lead. And with me on the call tonight is...
I'm Becca Oberg. I'm the Head of Partnerships and Strategy for 5 for Birth to 19, predominantly working on the Institute of the Early Years stuff, which is a Stronger Practice Hub and 50 Things to Do. So tonight's a great opportunity to tie the two together.
Just let Kaylee in. Okay, so you're all here tonight to talk about parental engagement and linking it to 50 things to do before you're 5. So the first couple of screens really are discussing whether parental engagement is a good idea, whether practice suggests that it is, perhaps more importantly, whether research suggests that parental engagement is a good idea. So as you can see there from those first 2 bullet points, that what parents do with their children at home has more impact on the children's future achievements than the parent's social class or level of education. And it has a positive influence on their health and well-being. And I would suggest not just the children, but the whole family. So whenever we can encourage active family participation in activities that encourage and supports children's development, it's a good thing. There's a couple of quotes there. We will be sending out this PowerPoint presentation, so you don't need to worry too much about making notes, but there are some useful references here. I'm also going to share the parental engagement, the impact of parental engagement, according to the Education Endowment Foundation. Now, the EEF site gives evidence-informed guidance on a really wide range of areas of early years practice. You may have been familiar with it some time ago, but in recent months, largely linked to the Stronger Practice Hub offer, the EEF has extended its findings around early years interventions and practice. Now, because of the technicality of following links, I have to stop sharing a screen, find another one, and then share that. So bear with me. So that's what the EF website looks like, or at least the parental engagement page. The way it works is that EF has worked with universities and academics and researchers to find out about whatever it is that they're writing, how much it costs to implement, whether it's very expensive, what the strength of the evidence that they've found looks like, and the impact. Now, the impact measure, as it says there, shows the number of additional months of progress made on average by children and young people who received the intervention compared to similar children and young people who did not. Now, you can see that in 12 months, it can be expected that children will make an additional 5 months progress in their development where parents are engaged with your setting or your school at relatively low implementation cost, and the strength of evidence that supports that assertion is really very strong. If you scroll down the page, and as you'll see on the PowerPoint, there is a link to this page if you want to read it in full. It talks about what parental engagement looks like for early years professionals and early years settings. It also talks about the key findings of the research that they've done. And it goes on to say, how effective is this approach? And as you can see there, it's consistently associated with children's subsequent academic success. So I think all that points to the fact that it's a good idea to engage effectively parents in children's learning. You can see there that the effects are similar across nursery schools and early years settings in primary schools. But that's only because the research was done in those settings. I don't think that anybody could argue that it would be different in a childminder or a preschool setting. The majority of studies examined reading and early literacy interventions. So it's looking at sharing stories. But as we all know, in the early years, a holistic and broad approach to curriculum activity is hugely important. And I think it's reasonable to suggest that the 50 activities within 50 things will also improve that disadvantage gap. Studies suggest that the impact on disadvantaged families tends to be lower, but I would suggest that that's because parents who have more time, more resources, more inclination, perhaps, are just as likely to take up any of these interventions than other families. It also goes on to talk about how you might implement this in your setting, which includes looking at what's working well. And what does it cost? And the median cost estimate for parental engagement is low. Intensive support can be much higher. For example, if you're going to pay somebody to be a home liaison worker or a parental involvement worker, but generally the cost estimates assume that settings are already paying for technology to communicate with parents and to host any in-person meetings. Okay, so that is a really useful site. I'll have to do the stop sharing and
I've just popped a link to it in the chat, everybody.
Oh, lovely, thank you. Okay, so if I share the other screen. Okay, so when you get the PowerPoint, it is well worth having a look at that site. I said before to Becca that I hate this trackpad. There we go. It is working now. Okay, so you know who we are. What we're going to attempt now is to put you all into breakout rooms. It worked seamlessly this afternoon, she says, with a lack of conviction. What we want you to talk about is, what do you do already? Audit your own provision. What sort of activity do you undertake that supports parents to feel confident and comfortable and be proactive in engaging in their children's learning? It might also be, what sort of things do you offer to parents that are going to make them feel welcome into the setting and building relationships with you? So we have breakout rooms. Becca, can you see? Oh, we've got 19 people on the call. So I'm going to break into 4 breakout rooms and it will assign you automatically. It's very nearly 6:45, so we're going to give you 10 minutes. So we'd like somebody to kind of make notes about the range of initiatives that you use and the interventions that you might use, the strategies that you implement it, and then somebody else or the same person to volunteer to feed that back to the whole group. If anybody finds that they're in a room by themselves, which did happen this afternoon, come back into the main room. Okay, so I shall see you in 10 minutes. So, who volunteered to feed back from one of the groups?
I don't mind feeding back from, I think it was breakout room 2.
Hayley, well done, not only for volunteering, but for noting which group you were in.
I think it was. I'm not 100% sure.
Well, if you feed back for your group, that would be great. Thank you.
Yeah, so there was 2 of us from school setting and 1 from private day nursery. And we're all quite similar, really, in that we offer quite a lot of stay and play sessions. Lots of one-to-one support for parents, like offering meetings and things at the beginning and end of days, at pickups. being available at the beginning and end of days for pickups to chat to parents if they've got any queries. I personally, at my previous, I've only been in my current role for 5 weeks, so I can only really talk about my previous setting at the moment. But at my previous setting, we hosted lots of like 50 things stay in plays. We hosted stay in plays related to like specific themes, like we had like a dads and dens day.
5 minutes and then shower, do you understand? Yeah.
And
I do like the idea of a dads and dens day.
yeah,
Yes, I like that.
I think that might be borrowed in all sorts of places after this.
it was, do you know, it was really, really well attended actually, because
Yeah.
obviously we made it very clear that, you know, if dads can't attend, granddads can, uncles can, like any male figure in your life really, just to get the males in, because we know, well, I noticed personally actually that whenever there was a stay and play, it was predominantly mums that were attending.
Yeah.
So just to get those dads involved, and actually they got really stuck into it. It was really lovely actually. We were really fortunate in my previous setting that we had quite a vast like foresty area where we could go into the woods and really get into it. But yeah, that was good. And then also we had, just to sort of up parental engagement, one of the other ladies from the other settings was saying that she's hosted like phonics sessions and math sessions and things for parents. And I said that when I've done that historically, they've not been very well attended. The more formal sessions, I feel, aren't always very well attended by parents. If you're doing like a little phonics session to show them how we teach phonics and things, and to combat that, I put together like a little hamper when we did our 50 things to do before you're 5, like stay and play. I put together like a bit of a 50 things hamper. So I'd get some like chubby chalk. It didn't cost don't get me wrong, it cost a little bit, but it didn't cost a great deal. So I'd get some like chubby chalk so they could do the make you mark one. I'd put a pack of bubbles in so they could do the bubbles one. I think there was a little magnifying glass in there to support with like that going on the bug hunt. I'd put some envelopes in there and a stamp in there so they could do the posty one where they had to post a letter. So just little things, and it was like a little hamper, and every parent that attended got like a little raffle ticket for attending the session. And then at the end of the session we drew the prize, and one of the parents that attended won. And I think that increased engagement a little bit.
Absolutely. I mean, I need to say with incentives, I nearly said bribes there, with incentives, I've seen launches at schools where they've spoken to a local business, persuaded them to donate quite a substantial raffle prize, and everybody who attends gets a raffle ticket, but you've got to attend before you get the raffle ticket. I've also known a smaller nursery that used to give like a small bag with a local bus timetable, a bottle of bubbles, and a stamped postcard. Just linked to 3 of the activities that you could do on 50 things. And when families came in and showed that they ticked off 10 of the activities, they got another goodie bag with equally. So that kind of incentivization to think, oh, there might be something really concrete and tangible. Some lovely ideas there, Kaylee. Thank you for feeding back. Anybody else who was in the same group as Kaylee want to add anything to that? It sounds like you represented the group really well. Thank you for that, Kaylee. So can we have a volunteer to feed back from the other group? I think we were in 3 groups.
Group 1, I can feed back from group 1.
Susie, well spotted, knowing that you're in group 1. Thank you for that.
Noted that. So there was a bit of a mix in our group of childminders and school settings, I think. So we had quite a mix of ideas. So childminders were saying they have things like door stop drop off. So they've got to really think about how they're going to engage the parents. So they were setting up things like WhatsApp groups. A specific one for the EYFS children. It was the kind of things they were asking the parents to do was provide ideas for the healthy meals. It was also helping the parents make links with each other. One setting was sending out like all about me things to update on a regular basis. And they were doing things like they have a photo album in the setting, and they were asking families to provide photographs for the photo album so that they could kind of engage with what they've been doing at home, which is a lovely idea. And then we were talking about using things like Tapestry and Dojo for messages to parents to share things children have done well, to share pictures, and then if they then tell us something that the children have done, then they can send pictures back, so it can be two ways. We're talking about things like termly newsletters, so parents are aware of what kind of things you're learning about in school and in nursery, and having that open door policy so that you can kind of chat with your parents when they drop off and pick up. And one of the people were talking about having once a term a like pop in and chat session, so that parents could just kind of pop in and chat, as well as you like stay and
Sounds
play.
a lot less daunting than a parents' evening, doesn't it?
It does, and a lot more accessible. Yeah.
Susie, I think you've represented really well there, and I think there's some great ideas. What I hadn't thought about, and I've heard lots about tapestry or family or dojo being used, and I don't know whether it's possible on that, but the lovely idea of a WhatsApp group so that the parents can connect with each other. You know, so there's a to and froing between parents, which I suspect you don't get on those platforms, but not easily managed if you've got 30 or 40 sets of parents.
No,
coming
and
to your setting.
yeah, it doesn't always go well, especially if you've got a biter in the room.
Yes.
Speaking from experience.
Oh, yeah, I think there's a lot of people who are going, oh, yes. Okay, that's lovely. Thank you very much. I think that was group one. So we've got a third and final group.
I'll feedback if no one else wants to.
Thank you,
So a
Sarah.
mixture of earlier settings and childminder. A lot of the earlier settings do stay and play sessions, which have been good. I've set up a backpack for 50 things to do. So it's got the cards in it, chalk in it, bubbles in it, and a bear to go with the setting, and a book for them to record what they did. So there's, you know, hashtag I've done number 3 or whatever. This is, and the parents can share what they did, and then the children come back and share what they did. So, but it's got a bear, a bumble, but it's Bumble Bear because we're Belle's busy bee. So
that go down well with families?
The families have really loved that, and the kids really love that. They're all like, it comes back, it's always my turn, is it my turn?
Oh, that's lovely. Yeah, that's
and
great.
yeah, they've all put, you know, printed out a photo or sent me a photo to print out of the bear doing something with the children, and yeah.
That's a lovely idea. Sarah, whereabouts are you?
East Sussex.
East Sussex, yeah. So those backpacks,
So
I don't know whether it's
backpacks.
one that was provided by the local authority, but I know Julie from East Sussex did provide a lot of those.
Yes, it was one provided by the local authority.
But I think having that idea of something tangible that you can give to is one that's readily and easily emulated. Thank you for sharing.
And recently they've also given us a stamp that says 50 things to do, and then the sheet with the 50 things, and you know, so that was my challenge to all the parents now, you know, do any of the children want to come and tell me they've done one and stamp it off.
That's lovely. We will talk a little bit later this evening about where you can download those stamp cards. So if anybody's thinking that's something that the children that I look after would love, then we can do that. Anybody else in Sarah's group that want to add anything to that? Oh, Henny, are we having a difficult day? I'm going to mute everybody. So if you want to talk, please do. I can mute all. There we go. Okay. Nobody needs Henny's difficult day sharing. Right. So I'm going to go back to, oh, have we got another group? Was it just 3 groups? I don't want anyone sitting there thinking we got away with not sharing. Okay. Okay. Becca, do you want to take over this in the next 4?
Yeah.
Thank you.
So as we've alluded to already, there is lots of research and evidence that demonstrates that engaging parents in your setting really supports children's outcomes. You know, improving the home learning environment, is really important, but it's not just improving the home learning environment, it's improving that connectivity between the home learning environment and what's happening in the setting as well, that demonstrates the biggest impact. So it's really great to hear all the things that you're doing already. Again, as you will be acutely aware, it is an expectation of the EYFS, and it is something that Ofsted look at when they're inspecting you, how you're working with parents, how you're engaging them in your setting. So what we're going to be hopefully doing in the next part of the presentation is to demonstrate that 50 Things to Do provides that tangible framework. So you've already talked about lots of ideas that you do, and it's really great to hear that some of you are doing that through 50 Things already, so thank you. But we're going to just talk a little bit more about how 50 Things can help your work. Just give you a bit of background to 50 Things to Do if you've not heard about us, or you don't know the history of us. It was developed in St Edmunds in Girlington, Bradford, where Andrea and I are based, which is an outstanding maintained nursery school and has been for many, many years. And it was initially an initiative thought up by the then head teacher to engage parents in their setting, in the same way that you've been coming up with your own ideas. But as the project developed and everyone was working together to gather these ideas, it was then thought, well, hang on a minute, we can offer this to everybody in Bradford. It doesn't have to just be our setting. So that's what we did. And then we sort of had conversations with neighbouring authorities, and Calderdale, Kirklees were soon to follow. And now 50 Things to Do is available free at the point of access for you as practitioners and for all your parents and families across the whole of West Yorkshire, Sheffield, in South Yorkshire, and in a total of 23 other local authorities. East Sussex being one of our almost furthest south, but they've been tapped now by Jersey. And then furthest north, we've got Fife. So, it is across the country. It's a kind of bucket list, really, of 50 low or no cost activities that support all areas of child development. There is a big focus on language development, on oracy, because we passionately believe that when children are exposed to exciting activities, they want to talk about them. So there is that, but it also promotes all areas of child development. It's worth pointing out that when we're not trying to sell anything to anybody here, and when we do sell it to local authorities who invest in it, localize it, and make it available for people living and working there, we're not making a profit from it. We're a not-for-profit organisation. Any funds that we get cover our salaries, and we're not on amazing salaries, just to clarify that. We're on the average early years salary scale, but any money that we do get gets reinvested back into developments and thinking of next steps and what else can we do to support users of 50 Things. In Bradford, and currently being trialled in East Sussex and Wakefield and Oxfordshire, is our extended version of 50 Things to Do ages 5 to 11. So that just sort of carries the journey on. It was launched last year in Bradford and this year in the other 3 areas as a trial, really. We're just sort of, we're wanting to tweak it and make it perfect so it's as brilliant as 50 Things to Do before you're 5, but it is there and available if people want to start having a peek around at it. So what does it look like? It is an app, so it's available on an Android and an iPhone, and if you've got your phone handy, you can scan that QR code now and you can go and download the app. But it's much more than an app. It is a website as well, and the website has predominantly the same features as the app does. It has a place where we can have a blog though, and there's sort of how-to videos, you know, how to use it. But one of the key differences is unfortunately we can't have a translation feature on the app. But we do have that on the website. So all the activities, all the content on that website can be translated into, I say any language, I'm pretty certain it's any language, but someone will probably prove me wrong and say there is a language out there that it doesn't get translated
We haven't
into.
found one that isn't there, have we?
No, no. And literally this morning, we have added a new widget to the back end of the website. So from next month onwards, we'll be able to report back to our local authorities on which languages it is being translated into. So that'll be you know, really interesting for us. But there are also lots of printed resources. We have a card pack, which is available in Bradford and Wakefield and Calderdale. And I'm not sure, Sarah, if this is available in East Sussex. I think it is, yeah.
Yes,
yeah.
it is.
Yeah. And the card pack it's lovely, I have to say. For a start, it just feels lovely. It's a nice tactile resource. It has the activity on the front, and then it has more detail on the back of how to do it, what you'll need, and some extra information. I was saying this afternoon that when I oversaw a nursery in Calderdale, we gave all the rooms one of these packs. The practitioners actually wanted one each, but they're about £6 each. So we just stuck with one per room. But we were a nursery that didn't allow any technology in the room. So we didn't have any Wi-Fi access. We didn't use any apps. We didn't have family or anything like that. And so it was a really good way of being able to talk to the parents about it. So we could tell the parents about the app and they could go and download it, but we could also talk to them about this. And we gave every parent a poster as well. So we gave them a poster. We talked through the card pack. But it was also, we then found the children would start coming to look at them and talk about the activities and want to do some of the activities. So these are lovely. We used our early years pupil premium to pay for these. What I'm going to do for a moment, if you could just stop sharing for a moment, Andrea, I will I'm going to do it slightly different way around, Andrea. I'm going to go to the national website first.
Yeah, okay.
Okay, so can you all see that?
I can.
Yeah. So this is the 50 things to do page, 50thingstodo.org. I'll put it in the chat after. But when you first land there, you will see that it's asking whether you're a family or a professional or whether you're a local area who is interested in investing in 50 things to do. So because of who we've got here, let's go on to the professionals. And we click through here, and on the professionals page, we are building a suite of resources to help you with your work. So again, because of our audience, we'll click through for practitioners and teachers working within the EYFS. And we have a video, a couple of videos of practitioners talking about how they use it in their work, including one from East Sussex. So we've got a general one and an East Sussex focused video there. And then we've got a suite of resources that we're going to build on. And so this is an early years practitioner guide that talks about how it supports the EYFS and sort of how, you know, the impact on children's outcomes that it can have. So you can sort of download that and have a read through. Hopefully at some point tomorrow, that will be joined by a 3-page document that just sort of gives some, we've recently done some research with settings across 3 of our local areas. East Sussex is one of them. So I'm not sure whether you contributed to that questionnaire, Sarah, but you might see some quotes of yours if you did. So yeah, it was done in Wakefield, Peterborough and East Sussex, but asking practitioners how they use it and what impact it's had on their practice. So that's quite an interesting piece of work. Scroll a little bit further down. And you've got a poster here that you can print off to put in your reception area, or you know, wherever you want to around your setting. There's an A5 version, which is a flyer for families, so you can print that off. The images on there are of Bradford, but we can change the images if you particularly want to, if you're not from the Bradford area. And then there's a sticker template as well, which can be, I think it's got the dimensions on there, and it tells you which sticker sheets you need, and you can use it as you wish. And health visitors often use the stickers to stick on little red books. We've got one area where their library team have put a sticker in every single book that's mentioned on the app that they've got in their library. It has that sticker on, which won't have been a simple piece of work. But it could be, you know, somebody talked earlier about sending regular All About Me forms home. So you could just pop a little sticker on the front of it as well. So if we scroll a little bit further down, and we will just bounce to the, oh no, going the wrong way. A bit further down to the families page. So what we have on the families page is it shows you where all the offers are. And so we will click on Bradford. So you can click on the map. Just realised there's no little blob on East Sussex there. I don't know why that is. But there is a picture of you. So you can... Yeah, I don't know. I'll have to go back and check that. So this is one of our local sites. So each of our area has a local site which is designed for parents to use. As I mentioned, you know, we've got the 2 offers here, but if I'd clicked on Calderdale, you would just see the before 5. So there is a little how-to video, which I won't play you now, but if you can click on there, and there's a little video of how to use the app. But if we just have a little explore of the activities. So here are the 50 activities, and you can choose any one that you want. I'm going to click on Shout and Shush, and I'm just going to mention that what you will see if you clicked on Bradford's and then you clicked on Calderdale's, or you clicked on East Sussex, that you will see all the same activities in all the same order, but you will see different pictures, because we believe it's really important to have that localized approach. And so I believe that this is a picture of a space in Ilkley. Yeah. But yeah, you will see a different picture. So we've then got information about what the activity is. You can drop that down there, and it tells you how to do it. So this is obviously about being loud and being quiet, shouting and whispering. Oops, what you will need. So there, and where and when and why. If you've got a child in the family with special educational needs, each one of the activities has some amendments, adaptations that you can make to the activity. And I'm not going to click on it, but if you click on any of the black links in the tab, that takes you out to an external resource. And this is exactly the same in the app as it is on the website. All these things are here. And then there's some keywords. Do you want to butt in here again, Andrea, and explain why there are not thousands of keywords?
Yeah. What we want to communicate to parents and maybe some less experienced practitioners is that the vocabulary that you choose to use with children has a significant impact. What we didn't want to do was have a checklist of 1,000,001 words. So they are just keywords that you might want to use, hopefully demonstrating that they get slightly more complex as the children get through baby stage into toddlers, and as preschoolers, you might start using words like chatter or murmur or shriek. So that's why the keywords are there.
Thank you. So yeah, then we've got some top tips, and so we've got story to share. And this is what I was saying earlier, that one of our areas, their library team have been into this on each of the 50 activities. Look which books we're recommending, and put a sticker in it if they've got it in their library.
I will just add that as far as I know, all the projects, the libraries in those areas have committed to having the titles available in the
Yeah.
library service. So
Yeah. So yeah, we've again got some external link resources here that you can click on. Oh, we've got no local links there. I thought we did have some local links in there, but
I
what
thought we did.
yeah. If well, I'll just explain. Usually in the local links, there would be a link of where is a really good place to go and do shout and shush. So interestingly, we do a lot of work with museums, and the Fitzwilliam Museum in Cambridge actively promote one of their galleries as being a great space to come and do shout and shush because it's got great echoes, etc. Whereas the museum team that I work more closely with, their front of house staff actually said, well, we're not doing that one in the museum. It's far too noisy. We can't have children coming into the museum and shouting.
Just say that I've been into the galleried gallery in Cliff Castle and I've done shout and shh.
So then we've got a suggested next activity after this, and then some additional information around child development. And then for parents or professionals who want to go that little bit further and find a little bit more, there's some research and articles in there as well. So that's the same format on each one of our activities. So we also have local events on the page. So for example, this might say the 25th of September here, but if you read the blurb, it's actually running till the 18th of July. So we have tried to see if we can change that, but it's not very easy on the app. But if it's on the page, it is still a live event, is what I would say. So click in to find more details. So all these events are local to Bradford. They are all either free or very low cost. We ask all our partner areas to ensure that nothing costs more than £20 for a family of 4 to go on the app. We're currently reviewing that and wondering whether we move up to 25. But for example, Jersey have said that they find that really hard to do because life in Jersey is very expensive, but they didn't want to change the amount because they still really wanted to be promoting that. So yeah, so that's a great resource there that you can use. You can pinpoint your families to. And then there's a blog section here with articles for parents, which isn't on the app, that's only on the website. Trying to see the printables on here. I can't remember how I get to them. Printable resources. So yeah, on your local site, you will also find some certificates that you can print off when children have completed 10, 20, 30, 40 or 50. Just to say, we are looking at redesigning these because although they look very beautiful, we realized the front one is fine, but the other ones use a lot of ink to print off the certificates. So we're going to be making them all white with different pattern on them to show the different stage. And here is a stamp card that there was reference to. So you can just download that and print that off. Some areas have printed them on good quality paper, which I think is what's happened in East Sussex, and handed those out. And I think Birmingham are doing the same. So yeah, so that is there. Okay, so
you want to show the translate feature?
Oh yeah,
just to illustrate that.
I'll just put in now, the person that does our data will be telling me off because she gets excited when she sees that somebody's translated it, and I always put one of the A's into a language, and then oh yeah, sorry Anna, that was me. So yeah, you can see there that the whole page has gone, and luckily I know my way around without being able to read it because I can't read Arabic. But all the activities there have translated all the content in there. Do we have anybody who's able to read Arabic on the call and can confirm that that is a genuine translation? I think think it looks more beautiful in Arabic, I have to say. Okay, now I will stop share. Okay.
Thanks, Becca.
So yeah, I touched on this a little bit already, but just, you know, each area is localized with the images of local children reflecting your community, images of local architecture and environment, so pictures of your local museums or landscapes, and links to the local places and spaces such as museums, parks. But what I didn't touch on is why that's important. And there are lots of reasons. First of all, it's around building cultural capital, and it really encourages children and families to explore their own local landscapes, you know, and their own community on their doorstep, and cultural venues as well. So it's really important that it shows that things aren't too far away and there's something that you can do. It provides children with a sense of place and a greater connection to their community. But the other thing that there's lots of research showing is that parents engage with initiatives and, you know, content on apps and websites and social media if they see something familiar. So if this is talking to them rather than it being, you know, quite a generic image of London with beautiful IKEA style photographs of children playing in immaculate bedrooms, etc. It's not, it doesn't pull people in the same way as somewhere that they can recognize, that they can see themselves in, that they can see, oh, this is for me, this is my place. Okay, you can jump to the next one now, Andrea.
There we are. Okay, so I'm just going to move that band up so I can see it. So thinking about what is it that you're engaging parents with? So you need to engage parents as customers. So certainly those of you in the private sector, but even those of you in the school sector, parents have an increasing amount of choice perhaps of where they choose to send their children. I would hope that you are wanting to engage parents as partners, certainly as partners in their children's learning and development, but potentially as partners in thinking about where your provision goes. You might be wanting to recruit governors or advisors. You're also engaging parents to develop trusting relationships with the setting staff. You're engaging them in thinking about what their values are and do they match your values in regards to childcare and education. And you're certainly engaging them in their children's learning. So how can we improve upon that? How can we engage parents better? And we would say that 50 Things is a framework that you can hang the work you already do around in a much more approachable way. So it can be an additional offer to customers at no cost at all to your business. If you just want to offer the app and the whole idea of hashtag number 10 sharing books, to work as partners to provide experiential learning at home. So reassuring and raising the confidence of parents to understand that actually what they can do with their children at home makes a significant difference. You're demonstrating a commitment to valuing the family and the family's input into the children's learning. You're not setting yourself up as the experts that know so much better, but presenting it as something that all the adults in the life of that child can make a significant difference. You're sharing your aims, linked to the Early Years Foundation stage, but in perhaps a much more accessible format because 50 Things has been written directly to parents. And I think we've already had mentioned that, you know, if you offer something on maths or phonics, Some parents, for whatever reason, are less likely to be engaged, whereas I think 50 things feels like, oh, is that what you mean? I can do that. I can play with my child. I can talk to my child. I can make Play-Doh because the recipe's there. And it enables parents to become knowledgeable in exactly how they can support their children's learning. And it is that old adage of, oh, if that's what you want me to do, I can do that. We've undertaken a couple of pieces of research recently. We have an annual users evaluation exercise. And one of the questions that we asked was, well, how do you access 50 things? We've talked about the national website and the app, posters, that type of thing. So we asked people, you know, how do you access it? And you can see that a big chunk of our respondents use the app. A significant chunk use the website. But if you look at the green one on the left-hand side, that's social media. So we have regular social media posts from a very talented team that if you're want to follow or become a friend of, I'm not entirely sure how it works on Facebook, of 50 things, then it will appear in your feed and you can share it. Similarly on X or Twitter, that you don't necessarily have to think up your own post. You can share that with a comment so it comes as your social media posting. And there you'll see that top left, just to the left of the lilac, all of the above. So we get parents and extended family members who use 50 things, who access the content through each of those methods. We need to thank you for the great work so far. So when we asked them, how and when did you hear about 50 things? Most people, I would say, saw it on social media. A lot of people heard about it from friends or families, but a really sizable chunk heard about it from nursery or from their school. People have seen adverts, they've been to events. We've got 2 project officers who work in Bradford, and I know in other partner areas they have representatives who might have a stall or be giving out an activity or sharing posters. The midwifery and health visiting team will talk about it because lots of the offer and the activities matches their aspirations as well for children. We've got a sizable chunk who've heard from the local library or another community space, so a children's centre, family hub, that type of thing. So why use 50 things? Most of the families that responded use it for activity ideas. They use it for suggestions of local places to visit, and they also look at events listings. Now, those of you who've joined the call from Bradford might be aware of, there's a couple of sites, one in particular that has just been launched that is just an app or just a website for It's Happening in Bradford, which is a great site. But what our events page does is it sifts and filters sites like that to come up with events that are appropriate for children, either 0 to 5 or 5 to 11 for the other app, at low or no cost, which we think is really significant. So we still feel that it's well worth having an events listing. A smaller number of families wanted to find out more about the child's development, but a fairly sizable chunk wanted to give their child more experiences. They also wanted ideas that were shared by other families. So we get comments and posts that we're tagged into where families share what they've done. I'm actually going to stop sharing for a moment and I'm going to go back and reshare the proper version because we've got 2 lots of research. I've actually got 3 versions of this presentation that's sharing in my share. So I'm going to flip back, if you will bear with me. and talk about the research that was done with the settings, which is on the right-hand side of this screen. And you'll see there that lots of the settings said that their families use the poster. A smaller number use the app. Quite a few use the website, but lots of those respondents used home learning resources and resources that had been made by the setting. And I think that echoes what Becca had said earlier about not having Wi-Fi enabled devices in the rooms. We're also finding that some parents are saying, actually, I look at the app, but not until the children have gone to bed. I don't want to model having my face in a phone all the time. Okay. Becca?
Yeah.
Thank
So just to have a quick look at the impact. So in 2020, there was a project with the DfE around school improvement. Unfortunately, because it was 2020, it didn't quite go as planned, and not all the data that had been expected was able to be collected, but there was still, you know, some significant data. And as I mentioned earlier, already this year, I've done some research with early years settings. So this is what those people were saying. So the green results relate to the DfE and the brown to the settings. So 70% said that 50 Things had increased the number of parents actively engaging with the school. 65 said that it increased parents' engagement in their child's education. And then with this year's, which had, you know, a good mixture of maintained school, PVI and childminders responding, 73% of settings said that they used 50 Things, said that when they used 50 Things, it had improved their relationship with parents. 64% said it had helped improve practice overall, which, you know, I was really not expecting so many people to say that. I kind of wished I'd asked on the questionnaire what their Ofsted grade was already, because it'd be interesting for the people to know whether the people that said it didn't improve practice were already outstanding, but I'll never know.
Yeah, can I chip in there? Because the DfE research that you're talking about, that was actually a questionnaire, we had a similar response from the 53 or 54 schools that were using 50 Things as part of that project. And 50-something% from memory said it had improved practice. And I suspected that was where the logistics of staffing had meant that somebody who was used to working in year 6 had been moved into reception or nursery. And I think that might be the case, or just for maybe relatively recently qualified practitioners.
Yeah.
Thank you.
I mean, with the comments that came with this one, comments around improving practice, there was you know, quite a few comments about it building practitioner confidence, which was really great, and that it gave practitioners a reason to have a conversation with parents that was lovely and positive. And you know, you will all be acutely aware that in 2020, all of a sudden parents weren't allowed in the nursery, and in some settings, I believe now, they don't let parents in the same way they did pre-2020. So practitioners don't necessarily have the same conversations with parents and the same relationships, especially people who are relatively new in 2020. They haven't sort of built up that sort of observing more experienced practitioners, chatting with families and stuff. So yes, that was really great. And 70% of settings said that parents had engaged with more of their home learning activities. You know, we heard in the chat that we had this afternoon that even when they do want to, you know, when the settings hand out home learning activities, families don't always engage with them, whereas it was really great to see that 70% of the settings are now doing that. I'm getting slightly distracted because I've got a pop-up on my screen It must be because I translated the website earlier, because it's asking, it says, it sounds like you might have switched to a different language. Please update it so we can provide better quality transcription. And then it's got Arabic written in the thing. So I don't know what's going on. So
I had a message saying that closed captioning is being, but I can hear you, and you're definitely speaking English.
Can I just sorry, I'm going to have to go. Thank you for tonight, the information given already, but I'm going to have to leave and sort my daughter needs to go to bed. So
Lisa,
Okay,
thanks for letting
your
us
time,
know.
Lisa.
We'll send
Yeah.
the PowerPoint through to you by
all right,
email.
thank you.
Okay.
Thanks
Thanks,
very
Lisa.
much.
Thanks. So, yeah, just a quick summary here. I'm not going to read them all out. You can read them yourself. But I do want to say that we shouldn't ever do anything because we know it'll please Ofsted. That's not the point of this. But I think it is just worth noting that Ofsted have, regularly during inspections referred to the great work the 50 Things to Do does. We believe they're not actually supposed to quote the name of the project in the inspection, but we're not going to pick them up on that one, and we're quite happy that they have. But we do know anecdotally that they have said things to settings while they've been inspecting really positively about 50 Things, even if it's not gone in the report. So yeah, I'll just let you have a quick moment to read those through. And here are some examples of how you might use it. And if anybody on the call, we forgot to ask where everyone's from, Andrea, but if anyone on the call works in Wakefield, you might have come across Buddy Bear, who is very similar to the bear that Sarah was explaining to us earlier. So Wakefield have a program where you can apply to be a champion setting. And if you become a champion setting, then you can get a free Buddy Bear with his 50 Things to Do Before You're 5 t-shirt on, and take him home. And I'm sure you're all very familiar with the concept of having a bear and doing things at the weekend, or the days that you're not in nursery. What we really like though about the concept of a 50 Things bear is the fact that you're promoting it through 50 Things to Do means that you're not expecting them to go and climb the Eiffel Tower so that you can bring back the photographs of the furthest away you've been and the most expensive place you've been, etc. It's about doing those little things, those little activities, and linking it to the bear. So you can see the picture in the far corner is just Buddy Bear with his pajamas on and getting ready for a bedtime story. So it's not all about having to go out. It's all sorts of things. There's a picture here of a display board within a setting. So this is photographs taken within the setting, but showing parents how they are doing the activities here. And the photographs are in kind of little wallets. You can change the photograph, and it's like a whiteboard with the name of the activities. You can wipe those off and wipe the hashtag number off. So you can update the board regularly without too much hassle. There's a picture of St Edmunds Facebook page on the phone there. So St Edmunds promote the work that they're doing within the nursery, linking it with 50 Things to Do Before You're 5. So they've got the little hashtag number and the logo on the photographs there. They go out on trips and they link it, but they also encourage parents to do activities. And I'm just trying to think, am I right? In East Sussex, do you have a 50 Things to Do Friday? I know Birmingham do, and some other authorities do, where the 50 Things central team will post an activity on a Friday for families, but also for practitioners to then share as an encouragement to do over the weekend.
I've not seen that.
I've not seen it either. No, not yet.
Yeah, well, I do follow 50 Things to Do East Sussex on Facebook. They do share some great events on there, but I can't remember if they're a hashtag 50, but yeah, they do share some great events on their page. So yeah, I think we talked about that very briefly when I went onto the website, so we don't need to do that bit. And as I said, Buddy Bear is in Wakefield, and there is a bear down in East Sussex. And coming soon is a Bradford-based project. We don't know if it'll be a bear yet, or what resource you might get, but it's a Become a Friend of 50 Things in Bradford. So I'll pass over to Andrea to just talk a little bit about that.
So we're talking about extending what we offer already. So those of you who are on the call who are working with 50 Things in Bradford in schools and settings can get in touch with us. And if we've got either one of the project officers or one of our parent enthusiasts, we have a group of people who we can ask about their availability and ask them to come and support schools and settings to launch the initiative if the project officers, who both work part-time, are not available. You can imagine that around kind of September into October, with new school terms, there's a lot of demands on time. The reason that we have enthusiasts is that I can talk to a parent of a 2-year-old with some authority, I have to say. I know about 2-year-olds. I've done lots of research. I've read lots of stuff about 2-year-olds, and that parent's going to take one look at me and recognise that it's decades since I chased a 2-year-old, or had a sleepless night with a 2-year-old, or took one to a stay and play session. So we feel that having enthusiasts who are much closer to parenting toddlers, they are more impressive in terms of their authenticity. So we're extending the offer of that, still including it. They currently will bring out a poster for the parents who are likely to attend the launch event. So we're retaining that as well. But we're going to develop a Friends of 50 Things pack. And as Becca said, it might be a mascot of some sort, or it might be a resource pack of suggested activities and sticking to that theme and that principle of low cost, no cost. We're also developing an onboarding scheme where you can have an electronic logo to include on your emails and your letterheads, a template of the splurge that you can put about 50 things onto your own organisation's website, a letter that you might send out to parents if you're going to have a launch event. We'll offer a newsletter that will come out periodically, but not that frequently that you're sick of looking at it, and give you the opportunity to have your work with children and families celebrated in our social media posts. Anybody who's on the call who already works with 50 Things, we would love to hear about it. We really would. We get absolutely thrilled with some of the inspired ideas that settings and childminders have told us about.
Can I
So
just interject there? So,
yeah, of course
do
you
you
can,
know,
Alex.
do you know when this onboarding will happen? Because it'd be really nice, the photographs that I take, I'd love to have the, do you know, the border around it?
You know, funny you should say that. We are working with our app developer, because if you look at photographs, you know, you can share photographs and save them in the memory section of the app. And you can share from there in exactly the same way as any other smartphone. So you can send it by email or WhatsApp or by message, or you can post it onto social media. And coming soon, there will be, if you post it on social media or send it on elsewhere, it will have a border attached to 50 Things to
Can I
do.
just clarify, it won't, Andrea. It doesn't have a border. It's 2 separate photographs. So it shares your photograph and it shares, we've not finalised it yet, but it will either be the 50 Things logo, or it will be a I've done squidgy sand today with a nice picture, a nice photograph and the logo. So we just need to have that discussion at the next team meeting, but it was never designed to be overlaid. It's 2 separate things, but
so
we
are moving really quickly on that. That should be ready by June.
All right, so I couldn't have like the hashtag and put that maybe in the corner of the photograph.
Well, we are looking at printable labels.
Oh, so I could do it that way.
But if you're looking at digital, Alexandra, we can do that relatively quickly to be able to provide a logo that you can put on your own photographs. I will speak to the marketing team tomorrow.
Yeah.
I mean, when I say quite quickly, I don't
Rather
mean
than
Monday
you
morning, but
it might come as part of the bigger pack, Alex.
yes, yeah.
It'd just be nice to be able to link it for parents, to be able for
Absolutely.
them to see it, you know, visually on the photograph.
Yeah.
And it's quite a nice, the really nice colours as well.
Yeah. I
Yeah.
tell you what we can do that we can do without any hassle. I can see if I can find, because we used to provide settings with a printable sheet of hashtag whatever it was that you could print out. I'm just wary of using comms and marketing time when we've got bigger projects that.
Yeah, no, absolutely. But if it's just a digital logo to pop on top
Yeah.
of a photograph, I don't think it's a big piece of work, but yeah.
Okay, so if you're interested in any of that, if you can email to express an interest in getting it when we've pulled that pack and that offer together, there's the address there. As I say, you'll be getting this presentation, so you don't necessarily need to make a note of it, or you could take a photograph of it with your phone now. Moving along quickly. Okay, so action planning from this session. You all need to think about, what do we want to do? What do we want to achieve? Whose support am I going to need? Now, that might be for childminders that actually I can just go ahead and do it because you are head cook, bottle washer, accountant, child carer, all of that. But in settings, you might think, actually, I need a senior leader or I need staff support to do this. You need to think whether there's a budget required. And we know at some launch events, those incentives that I've talked about earlier that might be just getting lots of local bus timetables to do the wheels on the bus, or I was about to say cheap and cheerful is a postcard with a stamp, but having bought a book of first class stamps yesterday, I might withdraw that as being cheap and cheerful. Think about what resources you might need. I've certainly seen some really creative stuff, sending out letters to parents and saying, we're collecting CDs, old CDs that you might have that you don't use. We're collecting kitchen roll middles because we want to create something. We're collecting any flour that you've got in your cupboards that's gone out of date because it will still make Play-Doh. Think about how you're going to promote it. Are you going to use social media? Do you want to use that letter template out to parents? Are you going to use Class Dojo or the platforms that you use that are embedded in your settings? But also think about, if you know what you want to achieve, you also need to think about, how are you going to measure your success? How are you going to know that what you've achieved is what you set out to achieve? Okay, I'm going to stop sharing now. Now, we made the conscious decision that we wouldn't have a break, so we've still got time to talk about any questions that anybody might have. We've made a note of yours, Alex, whether there's any resources, whether there's anything that hasn't been shared, or whether indeed there's a challenge that you've found to engaging parents that you would like to use this group to discuss more widely and more thoroughly and see if anybody can come up with a solution.
Sorry, it's me again.
Don't be sorry, Alex.
Has anyone got any experiences of launching and what that looks like for them?
You work as a childminder, don't you, Alex?
Yeah, that's right.
So I know we've got other childminders on the call. I haven't heard of launch events. I've certainly provided posters for childminders in Bradford, and they've kind of had a day where they've launched it, but I'm not sure whether they've started with an activity and sent details out. Anybody else on the call?
So we just gave the cards out and encouraged the parents just on drop off and pick up, but that always is the best.
Yeah.
Just to chat to them individually quickly, and then we shared that, we're going to stamp them, we've got the stamp thing for each child, and the child's going to love stamping. You can tell us any that you do, along with the backpack, but just sold it individually to parents, not done a launch event. That's a childminding setting.
How many families do you have that use your service, Alex?
6.
Yeah, so I think it's still doable on a one-to-one, but think about maybe.
Yeah, I have 16. 'Cause I have staff.
Sarah,
manage it.
Sarah, can I just ask, do we have any sort of support locally down in East Sussex? That, you know, I mean, I don't know whereabouts in East Sussex you are, but I'm in Seaford. So is there anybody local that we can actually ask to help us?
So
Don't
East
know
Sussex,
about a physical help, but in terms of any resources that you might need, there is, you know, through the local authority, there is Julie and Karen, is it? I can't remember a colleague's name.
so at the early years childminding conference, they gave all the stuff to us again, and they've launched it several times and asked, does people want to come and pick up the resources?
Oh, right. I haven't had that. Whereabouts are you, Sarah?
Crowborough. Are you childminder, Amanda?
Yeah, I'm a childminder. Yeah, I'm in Seaford, so yeah, I haven't had that. I haven't heard.
I don't
So-
know where Seaford is, Amanda, but if
It's
it's
between
East
Eastbourne.
Sussex,
It's between Eastbourne and Brighton. Sort of.
you're not in
between-
Brighton and Hove, are you?
No, I'm East Sussex. So, but
Becca,
I'm.
can you find Julie's email and put it in the chat?
I've got it here. Yeah, I'm just
Great
popping it in
minds,
the
you
chat now.
see. Thank you.
And Julie,
So
won't,
Julie
she's
Bowles.
yeah, she's
And
really
what's Julie's
approachable.
last- Oh, Julie Bowles. Okay.
So
I'll just write
she's
that down.
oh, let me go back.
She was there at the conference giving us out. Like, did you not get invited to the childminding conference?
I couldn't go.
Okay, so Julie Bowles was there giving out us all the stamps and the certificates and everything.
Oh, right.
So her job title is Senior Early Years Provision Officer, and she's part of the early years team. And she's lovely.
Okay.
Just
Can
just
I
tell her that
ask-
we told you to get in touch.
Thank
Can I
you.
ask others on the call whereabouts they are? If you're not
So do you
sure
want to
about...
just type it into the chat, maybe?
Yeah, I was going to say, if you'd rather not speak, you can type it into the chat. That would be really useful. But we can perhaps tell you of what support might be available in your local area. Susie Burns is in Bradford. That's a girl, Susie. Yeah, Kaylee's in Bradford. Isabel, you're in Eastbourne, similarly. Fatima, Bradford, so that's us. Elizabeth Mitchell, how are you? All right, dear. Knew she was in Bradford. Anissa's in Bradford. Yeah. I was going to say it's good to see you, but I can't. But it's good to have you on the
I don't know why it's
call.
not on.
And Hastings in East Sussex. So, Henny, it would be Julie that you'd get in touch with.
I'm just really curious, guys. How did you hear about our event down in East Sussex?
I got a random email
Right,
inviting me. So
Yeah, we
I
got an
thought,
email from, must have been, I don't know, Julie or something.
yeah,
Okay.
just
How
doing-
to engage parents more with it. That was the
yes,
selling.
that was it, yeah.
Right.
I saw it on the Kent and East Sussex Early Age Stronger Practice Hub.
Ah, okay.
They posted something, I think.
Yeah. Okay. That's
Will
good.
do. I mean, there is no
it's lovely.
problem with it at all.
No.
And Isabel, you saw it on Facebook and went through Eventbrite, Katie. I haven't got a name for whoever's using iPad, but he or she is in Leeds. You're most welcome. So there are certainly opportunities that are presented with 50 Things, and the comms and marketing team are really interested and excited to get requests about, actually, I think this resource would help. Please, can we put Julie? Katie, I'm not sure. Do you mean Julie's email address? It is higher up in the chat. Right, hang on a minute, and I can copy and paste it.
I'm on it, Andrea. Beat you.
Oh, don't. You see, we make such a cracking pair, we really do. What we haven't talked are some of the barriers, and I think they've almost been implied when you were feeding back what was done. I think that idea of sometimes the language we use around the EYFS, but within schools, and I think you have to consider, is that in and of itself a barrier? And I think by sharing 50 things to do before you're 5, it takes some of the jargon out of it and reassures parents that actually we can do that. I think one of the other barriers is sometimes when you're working with working parents, particularly if they're working for an employer who perhaps is not very family friendly. So dropping the children off and you know that you've only got 15 minutes to get into work. So even if the childminder or the key person or one of the senior leaders has got something really exciting to say, they don't have time to stop because they have to make it into work promptly and on time. So it's thinking about different ways of communicating. We've had suggested on the call this evening using class dojos, family. We've asked the group this morning if they would let us know, or this afternoon, if they would let us know which platforms they use and to give their very personal opinion about how effective they feel it is. If any of you use an online platform, then I would invite you to put into the chat, what do you use? Do you like it? Is it very effective? Are there any downsides? And we'll happily share that with everybody who's been on both calls this afternoon and this evening. I can't think of any other barriers that came up. Anybody on the call find that they've got a particular barrier when it comes to engaging well with parents? Is there anybody on the call who works in early help or family hubs? We had somebody on the call this afternoon who said sometimes the families that they most want to work with are somewhat reluctant. I also think that we have to kind of bear in mind that for some parents, the idea of an open door policy isn't quite enough, because if they've got really challenging experiences in their education, then saying you're welcome anytime. I've known of parents who've had a real physical difficulty in getting over the threshold of the school. And sometimes it's about reaching out to parents where they are. I think one of the ways that schools and settings can do that, and even childminders, because we were talking to a childminder who had a family picnic once a year, and it sounded like all the families and the children were invited to go to one of the local parks and picnic. So almost moving it off premises and doing it elsewhere. But the events page can be used by schools and settings as well. If you've got a spring fair or a summer fair or an autumn event that you would like to open up to the wider community rather than just the families who already use your school or setting, but maybe connect with those parents of babies who will be coming to your setting potentially at one point. I think that's starting off the conversation with a real positive and welcoming people with open arms rather than making it limited. And the events page is a great place to do that. Okay, so we've got Seesaw app, Baby Days, find it absolutely brilliant. Thank you, Amanda. Marvellous Me, I don't think I've heard of Marvellous Me. Thanks for that, Kaylee. And Elizabeth, you used to use Baby Days, but stopped using it due to lack of engagement. So the WhatsApp works for you, and Messenger for a couple of parents who don't want to use WhatsApp. So I think that's absolutely the right approach. It's responding to the parents that you're working with now. But we all know when you're in early years, you may have parents working with you for a while if you have the children come in before and after school, but it might be really a short-term relationship. We've got WhatsApp broadcast lists, amazing. You can share pictures and new information to all the parents. It's a nice idea, Fatima, thank you for that. And Dojo for parent communication. And there's a class story feature, that sounds nice. Henny, you use Tapestry. Excellent stuff. Okay, I hope that you feel that you've picked up some useful tips. If absolutely nothing else, I think the dads and dens is something that you can take away with you. Can I encourage each of you to please fill in the evaluation form that will be emailed out to you? it is really important to us to know that we're getting it right. So if there are bits that we did well, tell us, but also if there were bits that we could improve upon, please also tell us that. And I think it's half-termly, we gather all the evaluations together and draw out one lucky winner who gets quite a significant resource for their setting. So you've got to be in it to win it. Becca, do you want to add anything, love?
No, I don't think so. Just thank you for giving it your evening. You know, it's I know you're all working really hard and don't often get a break, and so it's really great that you've made time to come. So I hope you've got something out of it.
It's been worthwhile. So thank you all very much for your time. It's not the 2 hours that we threatened, but I don't think anybody's feeling undermined. I'd certainly planned to work until past. So if anybody does want to stay in the call and have a conversation, they are more than welcome. But I'm going to